G'day guys, Paul, Perth FourbeeFour Adventures. In this video I am just going to talk about whether or not you should or shouldn't modify your four-wheel drive if you want to go off-road touring. Now, a lot of our followers will know that Perth FourbeeFour Adventures runs the Four-Wheeling for Beginners group on Facebook, a place where like-minded newbies can hang out, ask their questions, get some good advice without being led up the garden path with some pretty ordinary answers that sometimes people do give in these groups. So, and in that group we do get asked a lot of questions about what's the best thing to do to your four-wheel drive, what's the first modification you should do to your four-wheel drive, where do I go to get these modifications done. So if you are new to four-wheeling, head over to that group, join the group, answer the questions, and we'll let you in. And you can ask all the questions just like everybody else does. But anyway, basically this video is my opinion based on my experience with my four-wheel drive when it was not modified. So, and I understand there are a lot of different opinions and arguments out there as to whether you should or shouldn't. But again, this is based on my experience with my four-wheel drive. So, we might jump out of the vehicle and sit in front. Once again, I am in my driveway because Perth, Western Australia is under semi-lockdown at the moment, and basically if I go past the curb line there, I need to put a mask on, and I really don't want to. So we're just going to sit in my driveway and have a chat. Okay. So excuse me while I drink my morning cup of coffee. The question is, do you or do you not really need to modify your four-wheel drive? Now, again, this is my opinion on my experiences with this vehicle. If you're just going to do average tracks, camping registered campsites, caravan parks, those sorts of things, drive on a normal beach, any stock standard four-wheel drive will do the job for you. They are all more than capable. Even the little all-wheel drives, that one that's parked next to me right there, the Subaru, will get you to these places without any modifications. So realistically, do you need to modify your four-wheel drive to go off-road? No. However, if you want to tackle some of the really good tracks and trails that are out there, places around Brunswick Junction, Bornholm Beach for one of the worst case scenarios, even your average sand tracks and beaches have reasonable rutted tracks that are about anywhere from 100 to 200 mil deep in the ruts. You are going to need to modify your vehicle, otherwise you are going to damage it. And the more you go out in a stock vehicle, the more you are prone to damaging the vehicle. Now, there are probably a couple of exceptions to this rule that's in my head anyway. Your larger four-wheel drives on the market, your Toyotas, Land Cruisers, your Nissan Patrols, they probably are a big enough vehicle with enough clearance to be able to do most of those things comfortably without getting damaged. But if you want to tackle things like Bornholm Beach, for instance, and Brunswick Junction, and you want to have some fun and really push yourself, you are going to need to modify your four-wheel drive. If you want to go touring and you want to be comfortable while you're touring, keeping your food and your drinks cold, your storage, your power, your lights, you're going to need to modify the back section of your four-wheel drive to be comfortable. Yes, again, you can go to a campsite with a basic tent, an esky, a torch, and you can spend the night, no problem at all. But if you're going out 2, 3, 4 days, a week at a time, and you're really touring remotely, you are going to need to modify the back half of your four-wheel drive to be comfortable. Now, for instance, when I first got the Jeep, and I've shown you a picture of it, basically the very first time, excuse me because I have a dog here in my eye, All good. Thanks, Piper. She's not out here today because she'll probably run off the road. The first time I took the Jeep off-road would have been Lancelin Sand Dunes, and I'll put this little clip up where we went the other week. This particular sand dune was a little bit steeper than what it is in this video. However, I hit that to go up it. Couldn't get up it the first time. Hit it a little bit harder to get up it and bent the bumper underneath the front end of the car. In like that, so hard that it actually damaged the oil cooler, and the oil cooler started to weep transmission fluid from that point on. So the very first sand dune I ever hit, because I didn't have clearance at the front, I damaged the front of the car. From that point on, just about every sand dune that I tried to climb up, same thing would happen. It got to the point where I had so many cable ties holding the front bumper on, there wasn't very many clips left in it at all. It was all cable ties, and every time I hit something, the cable tie would snap and I would have to re-cable tie the front bumper back on again. As for underbody clearance, again, going through rutted, even just sand tracks that had reasonably deep wheel tracks in them, the car would bounce on and off the sand, and all the underbody protection in the Jeep is basically just like carpet on the outside and rubber on the inside, and they slowly started to fall off because every time I hit the sand they would basically break a clip, and again I would have to get under there and cable tie them up until I got to the point where I just thought, bugger it, it's all coming off. So in my experience with my car, I needed to modify it if I wanted to continue to do what I was doing, because I couldn't really get up some of the steep sand dunes because I couldn't hit them hard enough without ripping the front end off. So of course the very first modification I did to this car was the bull bar and the lift all at the same time. So the bull bar gave me more to the point. I mean, I know it gives you the animal strike protection at the front, but it gives you the entry angle at the front that you need to be able to hit some of these sand dunes and stuff and climb over rocks to be able to get up without ripping your front bumper off, and you have various bash plates underneath there to protect your steering and your engine sump and whatnot. So a bull bar to me is not just for animal protection, it gives you great entry angle as you're going up various hills and things as well. And the other thing is a lift. If you're going to want to climb over rocks, ruts, and really push yourself, you are going to need to lift the vehicle. Standard lift for most vehicles legally is 2 inches, just to get that body off the ground and give you a bit of clearance. And the third one would be tyres. A decent set of off-road tyres, your average highway pattern tyres, they're okay for basic stuff, but again, if you're going to be climbing over rocks, through tracks where there's tree stumps and Christ knows what's sticking out, you're going to need a tyre that can handle that. Most all-terrain, mud-terrain and hybrid tyres are a light truck tyre. They have a thicker wall, therefore they can withstand a strike on the side without ripping the sidewall out of your tyre. A highway terrain tyre does not have this capability, and if you do things, I will give you an instance, the Holland track. Along the Holland track there are a lot of roots of trees sticking out on the side of the track. There are literally stumps like this in the middle of the track. If you hit one of those with a highway terrain tyre, you will rip it and shred it to pieces. That's what will happen. You've got more of a chance with an all-terrain, mud-terrain or a hybrid light truck tyre on your four-wheel drive. So in my opinion, those are the 3 things you really need if you're going to go serious off-road touring in your four-wheel drive: a bull bar, a lift and a decent set of tyres. Those 3 things you could probably get by without everything else. You can make do with things just to get you through, but those 3 things, if you're going to do some serious off-road touring, you need those at least. And the other thing, of course, when you're touring, you need to be comfortable. You need to have a place to put your food, your drinks, store all your gear, and probably a power source of some sort if you're going to run a fridge and lights, because running off your main battery is not really an option, because basically you'll get up in the morning one morning and your car won't start because your battery will be flat. So, and again, you can spend some pretty serious money on all these sorts of modifications. If you're going to spend serious money, your first 3 mods that you do, if they're going to be your bull bar, your lift and your tyres, that's where you should spend your serious money and get some decent gear, because buying cheap gear on things like that, it's not going to last, and in 1 to 2 years time you're going to wish you'd spent just that little bit more and bought some decent products. Because if you buy the cheap stuff and your suspension fails out in the middle of nowhere, it's going to cost you that difference and more just to get your car back, and then you're going to have to replace it anyway. So spend the money where it needs to be spent. The other things that I'll now show you, just to be comfortable while you're touring, you can buy entry-level stuff. There's lots of, I'm not going to go into brands and stores, but there are lots of stores out there. Most stores will give you entry-level products that are the cheaper end of the market. You can go down that path, just for the fact that if you're not sure you're going to buy it, because you will buy stuff for your 4-wheel drive, you'll use it once or twice and you'll go, yeah, no, that didn't quite work, and you'll go out and buy something slightly different. So you're probably better off going with the cheaper option first, seeing if that's what you want, and then when it comes to replace it, go up to the next level. I'll show you what I run basically in the back of the car that keeps me comfortable, and most of it is entry-level stuff, and it still works pretty well, so I haven't had to replace it. So we'll go and have a look at the back of the vehicle, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alrighty, so here we are at the back of the vehicle, and I'll just go through a couple of things that I think you really do need if you're going to do some serious off-road touring. Now again, if you're just going out overnight, an esky, torch, tent, absolutely perfect. But if you're going to do some serious touring, up to a week at a time going away, you're going to need some of this sort of stuff. Now, fridge. Again, I'm not pushing the brand or anything. Basic entry-level gear, reasonably priced. I've had this gear, I purchased it all in a bundle 3 years ago, just a little over 3 years ago maybe. So a 45 litre fridge. You do not need to have all of this, okay? You don't need an oven. You don't really need drawers. You can get away with using a $20 tub from Bunnings to store your food, your gear and your anything in. A fridge to me is a necessity, because you need to keep your food and your drinks cold, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. So plastic drawers from Bunnings, if you need some drawers, you can buy those from Bunnings. They're cheap as anything. Chuck them in, you've got drawers. But you don't really need that sort of stuff. These drawers, yeah, they are fantastic to have, but you don't really need them. An oven, I need it, but you certainly don't need an oven. So, fridge, again, you don't have to have it on a slide. You can actually take that out and put it on the ground, because what I'm about to show you inside the vehicle is portable. So that's the fridge, and the other thing you're going to need is a solar blanket. Now again, I purchased this all in a bundle 3 or so years ago. This is a 120 watt solar panel. It keeps the battery charged when I'm at camp, and there we go. Still going strong, although I must admit, the very first one that I bought, after the second or third time I used it, it failed, it stopped charging. However, to King's credit, I took it back to the store and they exchanged it, no questions asked, and I've had that one ever since, and it keeps my battery charged while I'm at camp. So, and I will quickly show you the battery itself. Now I know I've shown some of this stuff in the walkarounds that I've done of the vehicle, but this is just to specifically show you that you don't need to extremely modify your vehicle to go off-road touring, but you do need some things. So we'll just go quickly into the back and we'll have a look in there. Okay, so just quickly here we have the battery box. Now you can buy battery boxes from all sorts of makes and brands, not just Kings. They're all reasonably priced. They have Siggy plugs in them, they have USB plugs in them, and they are completely portable. This is of course strapped in. You don't need all of this stuff. I need all of this stuff because I need to charge those things over there, drone batteries and all sorts of stuff with that, so that's why I've got that. Plus I've got switches that run my camp lights and stuff like that. That is a portable battery box. You can pick it up, take it with you, put it down on the ground near your camp. You can take your fridge out of the back, you can plug your solar blanket in, and you've got a little portable power station right there in your campsite to run the things that you really do need to do remote touring. So, and I'll tell you now, all up, that bundle was probably around about the $1,000 mark. I think the battery box was about $90. The battery itself was $250. The fridge was about $520 or something like that, and I think the solar blanket was around $120, something like that. So round figures, around $1,000. Now you can spend a lot of money on this sort of gear. You can go right up to the top-notch stuff and spend $2.5 grand just on that. All that sort of stuff will cost you $2.5 grand. You haven't even bought a fridge yet. You buy an upmarket fridge, you could be paying anywhere within the vicinity of $1,000 to $2,000 for a decent fridge from some of the bigger brands. So just the entry-level stuff to decide what you kind of really need, what fits your purpose. That's why I did that. I bought the entry-level stuff 3 or so years ago, and it's all still going pretty strong, apart from the solar blanket, which I had to get replaced and now is working fine. My original battery started to die a few months ago, and I have upgraded to a slightly bigger amp hour battery in that battery box, but you're going to get 2 years or so out of your battery anyway. Anything beyond that is a bonus, and if I got near on 3 years out of the first battery, and I've just slightly upgraded from the 95 amp hour up to the 105 with this one, and I think it cost $250, but the 95 is around $200 I think, and this was like $250. So in round figures, about $1,000 will get you power, charging facilities, and a fridge, and that's all you really need if you want to do some reasonably serious touring. Anything else is a bonus. So you don't need to modify your vehicle to the eyeballs to be able to do this sort of stuff, but you do need to do some sort of modification. So we'll just jump back in the chair and wrap this video up. Okay, so basically the answer to the original question, in my opinion, again remember this is my opinion from my experience with my vehicle, do you need to modify your four-wheel drive to go off-road? If you're going to do some serious off-road touring, yes you do, because otherwise you are just going to damage it. You might get away the first or second time when you go out and have a bit of fun, but eventually you're going to try more things. Now remember, again, we're talking to the beginners market here. As you get more confident with your vehicle, you are going to want to try bigger challenges. It's just natural. You're going to progress into bigger and better things, and you're going to see a hill and you're going to look at it and go, I want to do that, because we still do that. I don't know if you've noticed, but you drive past a dirt track when you're on the highway and you go, ooh, I wonder where that goes. It's just natural. You drive past a big hill and you look at it and go, ooh, I wouldn't mind trying that. You just want to do it, and the more confident you get, the more you will want to tackle these things, and the more you need to modify your vehicle. So if you don't want to modify your vehicle, that's fine. You'll get away with doing basic tracks, trails, beaches, camping in reasonable spots for 1, maybe 2 nights. If you're camping out of an esky and stuff like that, after 2 nights your ice starts to melt, your food starts to float, things start to get a bit soggy. and it's not very pleasant, and then you've got to start looking for places to get ice and things like that. You've got a fridge, you never have to worry about ice. It's just constantly plugged in, keeping your stuff cold. I have that set to 0 and it keeps my drinks beautiful and cold. They are so refreshing at the end of the day when you set your camp up, crack that first beer. It's really, really nice. And after a while with an esky, now on one of our trips I didn't have my vehicle, I was riding in Gary's Jeep and my gear was in Brad's trailer, and I can tell you it wasn't really a pleasant experience because I had an esky. After the second night I basically had to take my stuff out of the esky and distribute it between Brad and Gary's fridge. So there I'm bouncing out of people who've got fridges, and my stuff is going in and out of a trailer, getting dusty and slightly damaged and stuff like that. So it wasn't a pleasant experience for me. Having a vehicle set up the way you want it set up is the best way to go touring. So some modifications are required if you want to tackle some of these places, and if you want to start getting to extreme places like Bornholm Beach, you're not going to get off Bornholm Beach in a stock standard four-wheel drive without damaging it. I'll give you the tip. Not that I've tried it, but from what I've seen of it, you're going to need some assistance, but never mind. I could be proven wrong there, and I'm sure somebody will tell me, I did that in two-wheel drive, because that's what people tell you. And I can tell you I don't really like that sort of thing, because two-wheel drive on tracks damages tracks, so I don't want to hear that. But that's just me. But anyway, as I said, this video is basically aimed at our beginners market. If you are a beginner and you're looking for a place to hang out, don't forget our Four-Wheeling for Beginners Facebook group. Come and join that. We have some great sponsors on board to help you build your vehicle. We have sponsors that do suspension with Malaga suspension. We have tyres with Integrity Tyres. We have a workshop with Craft Motorsports. We have a fabricator of bar work with Altera Industries. We have a glazier for windscreens and windows with Pristine Auto Glass. And we even have a place where you can go four-wheel driving up at White Gum Four-Wheel Drive Park. And they all offer our group discounts for members. And I am working on a couple of other sponsors more south of the river at the moment, so watch this space, and hopefully by the time this video drops we might actually have one or two down that way as well. So anyway, I hope you've learnt something from this video. Again, it's more aimed at the beginners side of our business rather than the more experienced, but if you've learnt something from this, and again, as I've said before, this is my opinion, and I'm sure other people have different opinions of what they think are more important, and that's fine. Everybody's got their own opinion, but as I said, these are mine based on the experience I have had with my vehicle. And on that note, I'd just like to thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much for those people that support the channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so, and we will see you on our next adventure. Cheers guys.